Whatever the occasion, effortless elegance is right this way. Because Hilton brings you new ways to stay courtesy of the Nomad London. And it doesn't stop at award-winning dining in a space draped in velvet and illuminated by vintage chandeliers. No, this day goes beyond with unparalleled personalized service and attentive hospitality. Oh, and did we mention the Nomad London can be booked using your Hilton Honors points at Hilton.com? Hilton, for the stay.
This episode is sponsored by Friskies, who would like to tell your cats hi. Now, if that didn't get your cat's attention, there is one thing that always does the trick. Just pour some Friskies crunchy food in the bowl and you'll hear those paws come running. Works every time. With so many Friskies choices, you can always bring your cats running from their secret napping spots. There's always more to explore. See for yourself at friskies.com or visit your local store.
How many discounts does USAA Auto Insurance offer? Too many to say here. Multi-vehicle discount, safe driver discount, new vehicle discount, storage discount, legacy.
How many discounts will you stack up? Visit USAA.com/auto discounts. Restrictions apply.
This episode is brought to you by Nespresso and Samra Origins by the Weekend Coffee Collection.
Introducing Samra Origins. My collaboration with Nespresso is a connection to my roots, to my mother, Samra. Coffee that hits the right notes. It transports you. Crafted with unique notes and bold soaring flavors. Experience a taste that moves you. Nespresso and Samra Origins.
Discover more at Nespresso.com.
Finding a new job is stressful. But with Indeed, it doesn't have to be. Just fill out your Indeed profile with your skills, experience, and desired salary. The more you fill out, the better your matches will be. And hearing from hiring managers will be 2 times more likely. Relax. That's your Indeed profile sending opportunities your way. Indeed, the world can work better.
We may live over 5,000 miles from Lincoln Financial Field, but what we lack in proximity, we make up for in film study. And each and every week, we'll be bringing you in-depth film breakdowns from across the pond and the Sooner State. Welcome to On the Shane Page. I am your host, Shane Haff. You can follow me on Twitter at ShaneHaffNFL. And I'm joined by BGN's own film guru, Jonny Page. Give him a follow on Twitter at JohnnyPage9. Jonny, how are you doing this evening?
Man, I'm good. It's been a while. It's been ages, actually. We've had content out, but it's all been scheduled. So, yeah, life's been hectic. And I've been looking forward to the show for ages. We'll introduce a guest shortly, but I think we've got the best guy we could have possibly got. We've said we're going to do this basically for months. And we needed access to some old Jalen Hurts film. And I think this is going to be a cool one. I think it's the kind of thing that we're both going to learn stuff. Hopefully the viewers learn stuff. So, yeah, I am excited for this one because I think Jalen Hurts has one of the most interesting career arcs, actually, of any player in the league currently. And maybe, yeah, we'll get into some real detail about how much he's actually improved throughout, the 5 years of his career. So, yeah, it's going to be cool.
Yeah, we are going to be talking about the evolution of Jalen Hurts today. And joining us for that show is James Foster. You can give him a follow on Twitter at NoFlagsFilm. You can check out his YouTube channel at James_Foster_film. He's a staff writer for Wide Left. Really excited to talk to him today. James, how are you doing?
Doing great, man. Thank you guys for having me. This will be a fun one.
All right. Before we dive in, we do have to address a question here from Eric asking if we coordinated the white shirts. We did not. All I can say is great minds think alike.
Yeah, definitely not.
Oh, is that Eagles Eric? My guy.
It is Eagles Eric. So, also we'll plug real quickly before we get started our Patreon, patreon.com/on the Shane Page. You can get written content and podcasts from Eric, Eagles Eric or Eagles X's and O's on Twitter. And then Jonny and I put out a lot of content there and in our Discord. So, Jonny, this show was kind of your baby while I was globetrotting and trying to catch up on sleep. So why don't you explain to the people what we're going to do today?
Yeah, we got another good comment from Adam's Exploit saying Chris Sims ranked in 10th. Crazy. Yeah, Chris Sims, known Jalen Hurts hater. Yeah, I just think this is a cool episode. I wanted to do it for ages because I'm very honest, Shane, as you should be as a film guy. Anyone should be. And I've not been Jalen Hurts' biggest fan. In fact, I'm going to embarrass myself a lot today because I've got some of my old takes from my Hurts reviews. One of them's really bad, actually, which will make you laugh. And we wanted to basically go over his film and look at how he's actually progressed, because I think progression is not linear in the NFL. I think Hurts is a unique case. I think he's improved in certain areas as much as any quarterback can almost be expected to. And one of the problems, Shane, was that we don't have a lot of old film. And then I stumbled across, and I've read James for ages. I've messaged him a few times. I know every podcast guy has to big up their guests, but I do think James is the best draft guy online. And I've said that to him off air as well. And I stumbled upon his video where he broke down the best NFL players of the 2010s. And if you haven't seen it on YouTube, it is genuinely awesome watching like Julio Jones, Calvin Johnson. There's loads of guys in there, even the offensive linemen. There's even a great shout for Jason Verrett, who all draft guys love more than anyone. And basically, I'm watching this and I'm thinking, how the hell has this guy got all 22 for the whole of 2010? So I thought I'd fire away a little DM and see if James had any interest in talking Jalen Hurts with us. And James, being the man that he is, of course, said yes, and has got quite a lot of film for Hurts' career arc. So, yeah, just briefly, like, he's only been in the league 5 years, Hurts. He's been in 2 Super Bowls, which the fact there are still doubters is sort of mad. But I was looking back over my notes, Shane, from like 2020. I was very down on him as a rookie. And when I say down on him, just I never saw him as a starter. 2021, I think he showed stuff, but he reached the playoffs. I was never fully convinced. And I went back, Shane, to my 2021 Bleeding Green article. And in my summary, I basically said, like, Hurts is fine as the Eagles starting quarterback. But I wrote this, so I'll own up to it. I said, unless you think Jalen Hurts has top 5 to 8 potential in this league. And I said, I don't. And I mentioned issues with eliminating what is in there quicker, being unable to throw to the middle of the field. And I had lots of good examples, actually, of his first year against the Cowboys, where he just didn't do this at all well. And basically, I literally summarized by saying, quite simply, I don't think he will be in that tier of quarterback. And I said, any team that doesn't have a top 5 to 8 guy should always be looking to improve. And then here's the great quote, Shane. I'll embarrass myself massively. I said, does anyone think, watching Hurts from this year, think that an Eagles offense led by Hurts will compete with Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen in the Super Bowl? I'm able to see it. And I remember watching that 2021 season, and Mahomes and Allen just had an unreal couple of performances. And I was watching the way they play the position, like the out structure throws, the arm talent. And I was sitting there thinking, unless you're that good, you're not going to compete. And Hurts has found a way. He's not as talented as Mahomes or Allen, especially as a thrower, but he has found a way. And yes, talent around him is very, very good. But basically, since then, he's had a very, very productive few years. 2023, which we know was a bit of a collapse, but 24, after a pretty average start, I think he exploded down the stretch. And 2022, he was a legitimate MVP candidate. So I think he's a really interesting player, and a really, really interesting player. For what it's worth, in that article, I did say I was out on Russell Wilson. So, I didn't get everything wrong in there because he was the darling of Eagles media at that time. But I basically said that Hurts will never develop into a top 5 to top 8 elite guy. And maybe we'll talk at the end. And I'm interested to hear James' opinion actually on what he thinks of him now. I think you can argue he's still outside that Allen Mahomes. I think that's a very fair assessment. But I think the way he plays the game, the lack of turnovers these days, the running ability, the culture of leadership, the sort of lack of mistakes is the way I'll summarize him, means
very clean tape.
Exactly. He's extremely clean. And I think sometimes we overlook how he plays. So basically, there's a lovely bit of waffle. We're going to try and go through how he's actually improved. So we got some film going all the way back to his first couple of years. And then James, being the wonderful man that he is, has got some examples of some of the stuff that he feels he's improved a lot. And me and Shane are basically going to just like cheat and chill and jump in and basically comment on everything we've seen as well. I mean, I have watched every throw Hurts has made in the NFL. I'm sure you're the same, Shane, from the U22 at least once. Sometimes it's nice just to focus on one particular player. Yeah. Anything else you want to throw out there?
Yeah, I mean, I think you can certainly go back and find lots of things that lots of people said about Hurts early on. And I don't think it's wrong to have not been impressed with Hurts in 2020, 2021, or even coming out of college. I mean, clearly he's had a massive development and evolution. And we talk about that, but we've never like quantified it by going back and looking at it, which is what this show is really designed to do. But even if you just go back and look at basic metrics, I mean, his EPA per play in 2020 was 0.062, 0.070 in 2021. And then it jumps up to 0.275 in 2022. And 2022 was obviously a great year, and he hasn't replicated that in terms of efficiency since then, but he's still been 0.153, 0.164 over the last 2 years. So he took a huge leap in 2022 that probably wasn't sustainable in terms of efficiency, at least, but there's a clear like break point between 2020, 2021 and since then in terms of what he's done. And so, obviously Chris Sims' thing of having him outside the top 40 quarterbacks going into 2022 is absurd, but it's not absurd to have had major questions about him as a starter going into that 2022 season. And, we've talked a lot on this podcast about people sticking to their priors despite 3 years of evidence since, and that's where I have a problem. But I will say, let's not attack people for not thinking Hurts was going to be it in 2021, because there was really nothing out there to support that, honestly. And we're going to look at some of that today. So I guess that's kind of my opening deal. And I don't know, should we dive into the film?
Yeah, just last thing I wanted
to quickly piggyback off of what y'all were saying.
Yeah,
of course.
So I'm in the same boat as you, because back on my old YouTube channel, I think it was after his second year. I did a video on Jalen Hurts, and the title was "The Eagles Have a Jalen Hurts Problem," which is like hilarious to look back on. But I mean, I like the way that I look at his career development is it really like echoes a lot of things that y'all said. For me, just the thought that came to my mind once he kind of broke out is like he develops like a Madden player. You know how like on Madden and like other video games, it's like when you do a franchise or something, players are guaranteed to get like a +5, and it makes it boring because like how everyone's going to develop. That's like what Jalen Hurts. It's like +4, +5 every year, and it's like at the time, it's kind of like what you were saying. When I look back on it, I don't really necessarily regret that opinion. I think if I was presented with the same player, Halen Jertz, different name, but like the same tape, I probably would have had a similar opinion. Now, like knowing about the character and the leadership and all of that, like that's obviously a huge part of it. But yeah, I mean, I remember early in his career, like the bailing from the pocket and not throwing over the middle were the two things that really stuck out to me. But for me, it's like once a guy proves me wrong twice, which is what Jalen Hurts did, and kind of like proves that he's going to continuously develop, like that's obviously just such a valuable thing to have as somebody that has like work ethic, strive to improve, all of that. And so at a certain point I was like, all right, I'm in on Jalen Hurts. And like, you guys mentioned the character. I think like I don't really get into like Super Bowl wins to like define my quarterback rankings, but I do care about how you individually perform in the biggest moments. And Jalen Hurts' individual like Super Bowl resume is about as impressive as anyone, that has been to that many Super Bowls. Like, even though they lost, to me, the first Super Bowl performance is like 0.1 on his resume. Like that's, so I mean, I'm as a neutral observer, a big fan of Jalen Hurts.
I was so upset when the Eagles drafted Jalen Hurts in 2020 because I was an Oklahoma fan that was ready for Hurts to graduate because I thought he was holding back to some degree. And I mean, that sounds stupid to say because he put up crazy stats at OU, but OU had so many good receivers. And I was like, Hurts does this scramble around and just get the ball to the good receivers. And it was, I got frustrated at times watching him. And so them drafting him when I thought I was done watching him. And then also like Jeremy Chin was a guy I loved in that draft. Mm-hmm. And he was on the board. I was like, man, I was so mad. And then of course the 2020 season was a disaster. I was also upset when they did not draft Justin Fields in 2021 when he was there, because I was a big Justin Fields guy. So my wrongness about Hurts goes way back. But yeah, I mean, I can't stress how rare it is for a quarterback to improve year over year the way that Hurts has. That's just not something that you typically see. And so, who knows where we get, who knows where he is a few years from now, and maybe the improvement stops at some point, but he's been phenomenal. A couple comments here we'll go to. Yako asked if you could swap players with no contract implications. Would you prefer Hurts or Lamar for the Eagles? I know Johnny's answer to this.
Yeah, I've said this for ages. I don't think Hurts is better than Lamar, but I genuinely wouldn't change Hurts. And that sounds like such a fandom guy. I just think culture, fit in Philly, like leadership traits. Like if you lived in a hypothetical bubble, Lamar's not talented. Like, come on. But I wouldn't. I'm there. And I've said that as someone who was not a Hurts guy coming out either. So, yeah, and I do honestly mean that. Yeah,
James, thoughts on that?
I would have to go with Lamar over Hurts in a vacuum. From the Eagles' perspective, I mean, I get your argument. Is like we know that Jalen Hurts works on the Eagles. I mean, it would shock me if like Lamar Jackson didn't. I mean, I get your argument. To me, I think like Lamar is probably would be my second ranked quarterback in the league. So
yeah,
I would go Josh Allen, Lamar, and then Mahomes.
I'll take throwing it out there.
With the caveat that, I mean, there's personalities and like you could never actually do this, but yeah, I would take Lamar, but that's not a slight to Hurts. I think Lamar's phenomenal, and I've thought that for a long time. GGN says he's just such a more refined passer than he was in 2021, and Adam said he's outperformed Mahomes in 2 Super Bowls. So let's get into it. Let's talk about what makes him a more refined passer. And so James has some clips that we'll put up on the screen, and we'll kind of go through some of the all 22. And just see where we end up. So here's the first one, and James, I'll let you take over from here.
Yeah, so basically what I did is I watched his interceptions. I watched like inaccurate passes. They've got like different stuff charted. So I was watching a bunch of cut-ups and kind of like pulling his bad plays. And this is from his first 2 years. And then I kind of grouped them into 4 categories from what I noticed. And then went back and rewatched the last 2 seasons, and I was actually surprised how easy it was to find like clear examples of the improvement that he made. It's pretty shocking because like you watch him year after year and you kind of register each year's development, but then when you go back 4 years, it's like, whoa, I forgot how completely different of a player he was. So yeah, first category is like out of structure, kind of biting off more than he can chew type of plays. And I'll just roll the clips, but just a couple interceptions, like trying to do too much, after he breaks the pocket, late to like pull the trigger on out of structure throws, and, letting a big theme was leading defenders into passing lanes with his eyes. Like that could kind of apply to most of these categories. Just a couple interceptions there where, and like this one could fall into the second category, but it's almost to me, what was the most surprising like difference from now to his first 2 years is I feel like his arm is a lot better. Like there were so many throws early in his career where it's just like he straight up couldn't make them, and now I feel like he executes those a lot more consistently. So let me see. Hold on.
Yeah, just quickly, James. I had that exact clip. I didn't know what the second one you were going to show. I had on my list because I wrote that Cowboys game, and that Cowboys game was rough. If you watch that game, that was what his second, and I even said in the post, like, come on, it's his second start, so let's all calm down, because there was quite a lot of comments. But I basically said, I don't want to appear too negative, but he wasn't good. And the big issue I had, and I felt like I was taking crazy pills watching him, James, I just didn't think he had the arm. There's throws in this game where he just doesn't have the juice. You're like, you're limited. And then it just seems to have got stronger, which is so hard to do. But yeah, that second clip I was going to show, because it was
not to mention the way that he breaks the pocket on this too. Just never sets his feet, backpedaling, immediately looking to escape.
Those clips are rough.
Well, I mean, what would you rank, or how would you evaluate Jalen Hurts' arm, just overall arm talent, like right now, just, A to F? Like
in terms of like straight up strength, like C plus. But I think like if you want to talk about things like deep velocity and stuff, I think he's probably more like B plus. But it depends how you depends how you define like arm talent, doesn't it? I don't think he's particularly like great from like all angles. I think genuine arm talent, like no more than a C. But I think I used to think it was like D minus, like E level.
I think he's got the best deep ball in the NFL.
Yeah, velocity wise and stuff.
But just in terms of like I'm sure, AJ Brown plays into this, and deep balls, there's so much more receivers due to influence too. But I feel like he throws one of the best deep balls in the NFL. The rest of it, I don't think is like superb. I think he's got kind of average arm talent, but his bread and butter is he throws such a good catchable deep ball, and it feeds in so well to what the Eagles want to do. So overall, I would probably say he's like a B-ish, B minus-ish arm talent, but his deep ball is A plus.
Yeah, I was thinking B minus. I guess to me, it's like I think there's kind of a point of diminishing returns once you reach a certain threshold. Really, the most important thing is that I haven't watched Jalen Hurts in the last couple of years and really ever thought like, oh, his arm isn't getting it done, and like he kind of had a noodle early in his career. It's pretty surprising. These are the good plays though. As far as like out of structure playmaking, I think he was, there's several key improvements from what I saw. I think a lot more confident and composed in general when the play breaks down. A lot quicker to anticipate windows opening up. He was especially effective in the red zone. Extended dropbacks. Some examples of really nice pocket movement, like that play there. I mean, we'll see it from the end zone angle.
Yeah.
Much better chemistry with his receivers, breaking open, extending routes. Does a great job of like when a defender has his back turned to him, he's attacking him. I kind of mentioned it, but like throws with much more anticipation in these situations, and instead of having to double check, that what he's about to throw is open. So yeah, just I think that was kind of the first thing that stood out to me is being a key point of improvement for him.
I think the biggest thing there is that it's the want to throw. It's the hang in the pocket and want to throw. I think the first couple of years, he was a classic guy coming out of college that was a runner, basically run first. I always think of RG3's first year, like one read and run, and Hurts was brought up on that. And I think it's really hard to get out of that habit. But in most of those plays, you can see there are running lanes. Like as you're playing them, there are chances in a lot of these plays. Like he could go now if he wants. He could absolutely go. I think the other thing that stands out as well, and I've long thought this about Hurts, I mean, this is a good example as well, is that I remember tweeting this about 6 months ago. I think he does have a trust problem. And a lot of these players, you see him targeting Dallas Goedert or guys that he's very comfortable with. I think when he trusts you, he's almost willing to hang in because he almost believes you'll get it right. I think sometimes you have to sort of earn Hurts' trust. I know that last one was Johnny Wilson, who's hardly a mainstay, but a lot of these, it's a Goddard. A lot of these, it's a guys that he trusts. But that's more of like a personal point. I just think the big thing in those clips you showed there, James, is the ability to hang in the pocket and the want to hang in the pocket, not to want to run when he feels pressure. It's a lot cleaner. It's a lot more of a quarterback first. I've said before, like even if Hurts lost all his mobility, I think he's at the stage now where he could still do a job. It obviously wouldn't be very, very good compared to what he gets out of his mobility, but he's not like his game is not based around his mobility anymore. He can genuinely throw like in structure and even out of structure, as you've shown from the pocket, which I don't think he would do his first couple of years.
And that's the balancing act for mobile quarterbacks, because so many of them come out of college where they were one of, if not the most athletic guy on the field. And so that scramble is better than reading out the concept and throwing it in college. And you get to the NFL and it's like, what made you so good is your athleticism. And that's great. And we want that. And it adds so much, but you also have to be willing to turn down running lanes at times to stick with the concept and read it out and throw the ball downfield. And you don't want a guy to become gun shy to run. You want him to still have that in his arsenal. And I think Hurts is at the right point with that now, because like you said, Jonny, early on, it was so much like, I'm going to look to run, and if I can't run, maybe I'll throw the ball. And now I think he does a lot better job of managing that well. Like, he will still break the pocket and run, but there's times, and even on a few of those, that there's places he could have tried to run, and instead he hung in there and got to read 2 or 3, or let his guys get into a scramble drill from the pocket, and he's able to keep his eyes downfield and make those throws. And I think that's been a huge part of what makes him so dangerous. Like, I mean, if you're just going to mush rush me and wait on me to scramble and I just don't do it, I have all day, like in that Packers game week 1, to just stand in the pocket, and somebody will eventually get open. And now you have to pin your ears back and rush, and that's going to actually open up those running lanes. So holding that in balance, it's a hard thing for a guy to figure out early. And I do think Hurts has really excelled over the last couple seasons of nailing that. So, okay, James, anything else on that before we move into the next set of clips?
No, I mean, the receiver point is a really good one, and that's something I noticed with one of the later bullet points I had. But yeah, it's not really a coincidence totally that I think like a lot of his bad tape, he was throwing to Jalen Reagor and Quez Watkins, and then his good tape was like throws to AJ Brown and Devontae Smith. So yeah, I mean, situation definitely matters. Like, obviously he improved individually, but yeah, I definitely agree. And like the chemistry and having guys that are natural extending their routes really comes into play in the red zone for sure.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get into the next set of clips. What are we looking at here?
All right. So second category was kind of on a similar tune, and it's what we were talking about with the arm strength. But when he was throwing off platform, usually like outside of the pocket, really just didn't have enough juice or touch to like layer throws over defenders. I mean, 15 to 20 yard throws that are just kind of dying in the air, and people are able to get into passing lanes. So a couple interceptions there. Like he's thrown off his back foot, but just can't get it over. Devin White, I think, is that, or maybe Shaq. I don't know who that is.
Yeah, Bucks games were rough.
Yeah. I still hate playing the
Here
Bucks.
comes that Cowboys game, I think. Yeah. And I mean, like this play, is that Reagor or Watkins?
It's hard to see the number. I'm not sure.
I mean,
probably Reagor.
Yeah, it's not like this was going to be a completion because he ran his route like into the safety, but like, let's say he sits down in that hole, yeah, just ball like isn't really getting there on time.
No.
I've
said before, for a mobile quarterback, he was terrible outside of structure. It's one of the biggest things that I wanted him to improve. And you can look at some like Aaron Rodgers tape, you see him just like making plays outside of structure all the time, and Hurts just didn't do it very well. All his plays out of structure were like running; they weren't throwing. Yeah, there's some rough plays there, aren't there?
But hey, we got some good ones here coming up.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was another area that I thought was noticeably improved. So a couple of these plays we can kind of look at in more detail. This one, yeah. I can't tell if I think he like barely the defender barely grazed the ball when he stuck his hand out.
Yeah.
But like this was a pick 6 in 2020.
Yeah. Yeah.
I remember coming out of my seat when he made that throw. I was like, that's just not a throw that you saw him make very often.
No,
and like this one,
yeah, this is beautiful.
Another pick 6. I mean, you look at the platform he's throwing from. He couldn't do that early in his career.
No, his first year in the NFL, he had a 52% completion. I know he played 4 games, but 68% last year. Yeah, he had never make that throw his first 2 years.
Just a nice little seam ball over the hook defender. Not like an insanely tight window, but a really nice throw there.
I love that he puts it behind him too to shield him some from that safety.
Okay, this play was insane. I watched this so many times. All right.
Yeah, I think we did as well.
Like what this might be like top 3 play because or wait, maybe I'm thinking of a different one. No, this one's pretty incredible. So like he sees this backside dig coming open, or I guess like front side dig, but being able to like have, I guess it's, chemistry, but this route, looks blanketed and he just throws him open.
I don't know why that's Olamide Zacchaeus, right? Yeah. That's the Zacchaeus touchdown. We talk about like him finding chemistry with guys, and I don't know what it was about Oz, but he had a couple throws like that year to him. It made me wish they'd brought him back.
Yeah, this is the ridiculous one, isn't it? Yeah.
This is the Oz again.
The ball placement as well. The ball placement is so good.
Yeah.
I'm like preaching to the choir, but it really was pretty jarring just in like every aspect of his game, how much better he was. The precision, and like we'll get into some ball placement stuff with some of these other ones, but it's like every rating just went up 5, like I was saying. Let's see here.
Yeah, because I think you've got one later on, haven't you, category, which I actually had a few clips to show, but they were more in structure, which I think is your later point. The accuracy arm talent, it's really weird. Like, I know Josh Allen improved it a lot, accuracy. So it's not impossible, but you very rarely see QBs that just don't look like they have great ball placement all of a sudden look very accurate. And I'm not a QB mechanics guy, and I imagine it's heavily down to him improving his mechanics. And I think it probably comes back to work ethic and the amount of work he does, et cetera, et cetera. But it is pretty jarring when you see some of his first couple of years. He's just not particularly accurate, and the arm out of structure is just not very good. And I remember talking about that being one of his massive improvements. I think people just basically got him wrong as a player because he was mobile. They thought he was going to like run around like Kyler Murray style and just create these like crazy splash plays. And he just didn't play that way. He couldn't really do it. And yeah, the arm talent, the accuracy, the ball placement on those clips is significantly better, isn't it?
I remember going into 2022, you mentioned Josh Allen, that there was like the graphic going around of like Josh Allen's first 2 years compared to Jalen Hurts' first 2 years. And I was like, Jalen Hurts isn't Josh Allen. Like, nobody makes that leap. Like, that's why everybody talks about Josh Allen. Like, quarterbacks don't make a leap like that. And then he did. So I guess maybe the graphic was more right than wrong. But yeah, it's crazy. Let's get into the third set of clips here, James. What was your next point?
So the next one was basically just deep balls down the sideline, really. I think early in his career, he was very much a one-read quarterback, like just so many plays where he only ever looks at one receiver for the entire play. And, mentioned it earlier with the first point, but like leading defenders into passing lanes with his eyes, and the fact that he's so much less of a one-read quarterback at this point, whether or not he's actually like purposefully looking off a safety and like, really manipulating windows with his eyes, just the fact that he is, naturally scanning the field, he's more difficult to read because he isn't looking in one place, which was the issue early in his career. And then I think that the other thing is like the addition of AJ Brown has given him so much more flexibility where like if he's got a safety capping a route down the sideline, he can just easily convert it to a back shoulder fade. And then I also think way more conscious of post-snap rotation, seemed kind of oblivious to it from what I watched early in his career. And we'll roll these bad clips to start out. This one is kind of just like donating an interception to the free safety, really. Like, just
staring at, isn't it?
Stare at one route the entire play. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, look where the free safety starts on that play and where he ends up.
Right.
Yeah.
Hurts never looked anywhere else. Just a nice little arm punt.
What's amazing is I know the plays the second they come on. Yep.
Yeah.
Another arm punt. Also, the ball dies, doesn't it? The ball dies. Yeah. There's nothing there, is there, juice-wise? Yep, I remember this one. This was the... Yeah.
And, like, this was... I mean,
Oh, this is rough.
Terrible ball. Like,
that's we talk about how you wouldn't change your opinion based on what you saw. Like, this is what we were looking at. Like,
yeah.
What do you say? Mechanically, he looks very strange there as well, releasing that.
Man, it's bringing back all kinds of bad memories watching those, to be honest, because it's just like, that's just not, which is the whole point of this show, but that's just not even close to the player that we watched.
I got to put a
watch play over the last couple of years. I got
to put a content warning on this one.
Yeah. No kidding. Not safe for work.
All right, so yet again, another area of his game that improved dramatically.
Yeah, that was placement again, man. I remember that play so well. It was so good.
Placement so much better. And yeah, I mean, some of these clips are placement things. Some of them are. I included like some eye manipulation stuff.
Yes, that's the thing, isn't it?
Let's see. So it's this one.
This is just what Shane talks about, just the ability to throw a single high to AJ Brown. It happens all the time.
Yeah. And Devontae.
Yeah. But yeah, you can see him looking one way and going the other. It's all pre-snap. He knows where he's going pre-snap. You can tell he looks the other way.
At least force the safety to stand in place for a second instead of just...
Yeah. You can see it's pre-snap. He makes a decision. I'm pretty sure he knows exactly where he's going. He's just not going to show it. He looks and he knows. Yeah.
I don't need to watch AJ Brown run the first 20 yards to know where he's going to be.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is a dig, but all right. So you got the safety here, and he really, I mean, by the numbers, like this is a touchdown that is all on Devontae Smith, but Jalen Hurts is the reason that there wasn't a safety there to tackle him after the catch. Because this look to the sideline, and I'm pretty sure I included the end zone angle, look to the sideline, that gets the safety to drive on that. And then all of a sudden you got Devontae Smith on the slant, crosses his face, no safety help. I thought that was one of my favorite throws that I watched yesterday. And also, I think it's a no look. I'm glad they had this end zone angle. I put it in slow motion, but a little nice. No look.
Yeah, I've got. I'll show up.
I just want to point out that.
Play. Yeah,
I want to point out that Olamide Zaccheaus is the guy that pancakes his man in the end zone for the touchdown there. I really wish they would have brought him back. I liked him so much.
Same again. Yeah, it's quick. It's decisive. It's
back shoulder.
Yeah, this is the one. I remember this is when
Yeah. Like this is when I saw this play, it's like 4 years ago, he literally would just loft this.
Yes.
He would have lofted this right to that split field safety.
That was the game that basically ended Emmanuel Forbes's career, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Okay. No, I literally got trauma watching that Emmanuel Forbes game yesterday because I know exactly what you're talking about. Like, didn't he gave up 170 yards or something?
Oh man. Yeah.
And that was Forbes. I think if I remember right, I think that was Forbes that he caught that over for that touchdown too.
And like AJ Brown is unbelievable, but I think Hurts also helps AJ Brown out because he's willing to throw it and the ball placement on those. Shane, just quickly, I know it's a pain to change the share screen, but I just shared you a clip that I had up as well.
Okay.
Completely random, James, but the second you posted that play, I had to show this because it's so similar to the slant one you spoke about. So what I liked about this as well was its under center play action, which is something that Hurts just couldn't do early on in his career as well. And it's a very similar idea. It's only subtle, but he's looking to his right and he doesn't really set. And when he throws his feet and he almost throws it in behind that linebacker. It's identical.
Say that one more time.
Yeah. If you look at how his feet are set, this is the back angle as well. The way he manipulates the linebacker is at 48. He's manipulating him his whole time with his eyes. And it was very similar to the one that you shot. I remember watching this game. I think that was 2024. And I was thinking so was that last year? I've got my maths. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I remember just being like under center play action, middle of the field, eye manipulation. Like, who is this guy? he's not doing this play 5 years ago. Like, it's just not happening.
He's not squared up to Brown when he throws.
No, it's and that again, arm talent. Like, he's got enough juice to be able to throw it inside when he's not fully set to the inside. Like,
he's lined up to the linebacker, pushing him outside.
Yeah, and it's in a really nice place as well, where AJ Brown can go down and get it. Yeah.
By the way, for the record, switching the screen share is no big deal, but I'm offended by your bootleg cell phone footage.
Yeah, sorry, that was old school. I said it wasn't a big deal, but we seem to have lost James. So
he was also offended by your footage there.
Yeah, that was pre NFL Pro having to actually share proper footage. Apologies for the Grady footage. It's better these days. But yeah, it's cool, isn't it, James? That is basically identical to the one you put out, and he just wasn't doing that. Just simply put. Should we get to the final one then, James, that you had? I think I've got another one that's very similar. I mean, I'm trying to guess now whether the clips I've got loaded up are going to be similar to the plays that you go, which is cool.
So this last category is just out routes. Like, and I'll give you a stat. I did a little digging on this because I noticed it from the tape. So Sports Info Solution has on target rate. This is Jalen Hurts on target rate on out routes of, I think I did 8+ yards. I wasn't cherry picking. It was just kind of a random number, but from 2021 to 2024, he goes 63%, 64%, 68%. Last year, 78%.
Wow.
And the rank went from 18 to 14 to 15 to 3. And like, because, I saw him just throw some absolutely abysmal outs from like the 2021 tape. And so I just went and like watched all of his out throws. And yeah, the difference is pretty stark. But let's see, what are we? Yeah, we'll start with the bad. Do I have that one load up? Yeah, I do. All right. So this play, it's not a great throw, but like, I mean, I'll give him a break because Devontae Smith, falls out of his break literally. So, I mean, it's a little bit, it's inside, but pick 6 to Trayvon Diggs. And it was really like every issue. This play, I mean, this is kind of more like the really bad stuff. I think this was Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. Yeah, should have had a pick there. But I mean, just everything about this is bad, where he's throwing it so late out of the break. It's inside, gets undercut, staring it down, checks every box in the bad direction. But yeah, I mean, it was, whether it was accuracy, like anticipation black hole. So there's accuracy, anticipation, just really like could not make that throw. And then, as we'll get into, you watch him now, it's kind of like one of the best throws in his bag, I feel like.
His intermediate out is awesome. The data's got at Sourroot. It's so good.
And to loop in our arm talent discussion from the beginning, he doesn't have the arm talent to be late on throws. Like, Josh Allen can get away with throwing after the break on an out route because he can fire it in there. Hurts can't do that. And that was one of the big concerns for me early on, was he seemed so slow to process and trigger. He had to see it before he would throw it. And as these next few clips will show, that's just not the case anymore. So
no.
All right. Some of these throws are freaking awesome. I think this one is the best one. Yeah. All right. So I'm going to pause it, but I mean, this is, capital A anticipation, as QB School says.
Yeah.
It could be, a little bit further outside. The placement isn't perfect, but that's a great timing on that one. Right here, this is just precision ball placement. This is 4th and 3. Oh, also, wait, let me go back. I think this was like 3rd and 9 or something. So nice little 3rd and 9 conversion. And then you get 4th and 3 or whatever here. They
run that concept so often.
Yeah. Crash.
Because he throws it so well.
Here you get another nice, good timing on this out.
It's beautiful.
Yep. Links back to your first point as well, doesn't it? Placement over defenders, second level throws. Yeah.
And then you also it also shows up in the red zone where he's got to fit it into a keyhole.
Look at his arm here.
Yeah, I mean that's
some juice.
It's insane, like the amount of velocity he's able to generate.
Yeah,
I don't think of Jalen Hurts as like having a cannon, but
no.
I mean he can get it done. Whereas early it was a major.
That play gives me PTSD because I remember having to explain to people why he didn't throw the slant route to AJ Brown because people were really mad about it. And I was like, it's all pre-snap alignment. He couldn't possibly know the Panthers would just not cover the guy. Like everything pre-snap told him the out route is where we're going.
Why didn't he pause the play and look?
Yeah, I know, man.
Yeah. But I remember people just like coming at me. No, he missed AJ Brown. I was like, no, AJ Brown was eliminated pre-snap.
This is so good, isn't it, man?
It's like from the first 2 years, I would say the majority of these intermediate outs that he would throw were too far inside. And then now it's like the complete polar opposite. I mean, so good at putting it where only his receiver can get it.
As you said, the velocity in these as well.
Yeah.
It's not a cannon, but like when they have to be low like this, they're low.
Well, I mean, here's the thing is like, I will take the guy that can throw with zip over the guy that can throw it far any day.
Yeah.
Still getting around to that fix on your car? You got this. On eBay, you'll find millions of parts guaranteed to fit. Doesn't matter if it's a major engine repair or your first time swapping your windshield wipers. eBay has that part you need, ready to click perfectly into place for changes big and small. Loud or quiet, find all the parts you need at prices you'll love. Guaranteed to fit every time. But you already know that. eBay. Things, people, love. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
The new McCrispy Strip is here. Dip approved by ketchup, tangy barbecue, honey mustard, Sprite, McFlurry, Big Mac sauce, double dipped in buffalo and ranch, more ranch, and creamy chili McCrispy Strip Dip. Now at McDonald's. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
Switch to Verizon Business and get more from your internet without paying more for your internet. Get LTE Business Internet starting at $39 a month when paired with select business mobile plans. That's unlimited data, and with it, unlimited possibilities. Start saving today with Verizon Business, ranked #1 in small business internet customer satisfaction by J.D. Power. Starting price for 25 megabits per second LTE internet plan with smartphone plan savings, plus taxes, fees, and economic adjustment charge. Terms apply. For J.D. Power 2024 award information, visit jdpower.com/awards.
Are your business expenses playing hide and seek? With Uber for Business, the small spends that slip through the cracks, like rides and meals, go right where you need them. Because it integrates with leading expense platforms, you can say goodbye to surprise costs, missing dollars, or chasing receipts. Everything's track downable. Uber for Business. Make small steps that make a big impact. Learn more at uber.com/small steps.
It's summer. Time to enjoy long days, lazy nights, and great food. Because Uber Eats has deals all summer long. So, when hunger strikes, don't sweat it. Delicious deals are just a tap away on Uber Eats. Enjoy all your favorite grocery items delivered straight to you. Get ice cream, soda, and snacks from your favorite stores like Wegmans and CVS and make the most of every moment. Now that sounds like a good summer. Order now on Uber Eats. Terms apply. Product availability varies by region. See app for details.
Yeah, that's a seed. But yeah, man.
Shane, I've got just quickly to share with you. Sorry for the grainy footage, but I've got a really good one as well. That's very similar. That I was going to show. Literally, the second I saw your one, I was like, I know the play I want to show. It was the Super Bowl against Chiefs, and it was like a smash concept, and the quarterback plays it perfectly, and he still layers it in. And I remember watching that, and I was thinking,
it was a completion.
Yes.
Third down.
Yeah, and I remember watching it and thinking, like, that's absurd. That was when he was like, just, it felt like in the Super Bowl, man, the first one, it was just like everything he threw was gold. The fact they lost and he played like that, it just felt like everything was spot on.
That's a throw I would be so mad at my quarterback for making if it wasn't 3rd and 14.
But just look at that placement.
The first Jalen Hurts' first Super Bowl pissed me off, and like I'm not an Eagles fan, but I was like, I'm like, this is the best Super Bowl performance I've ever seen, and tomorrow, like I'm gonna hear Colin Cowherd and Stephen A. Smith talk about that game as if it like hurt Jalen Hurts' legacy. It's like just a complete.
I don't know
opposite.
if you know this, but he did fumble once in that game, so it was a really bad game.
Yeah, and there was a couple of plays against the blitz that, as always, wrecked the Eagles. But yeah, I remember the second I saw your thing, I was like, I've got to show that play. It's honestly mad. I've got the old Bleeding Green articles that I wrote showing with his first clips. Like, I'm not going to show them all now, but like, it's a different player. It is genuinely a different quarterback. Like, he looks the same name, but in so many ways he's improved so dramatically, and it really is awesome to see them back to back. Just quickly before we, go.
Well, you talked about like new and the same. I've always wondered this because I don't listen to like Eagles press conferences.
Yeah,
is Jalen Hurts a guy where he like says a bunch of the same stuff all the time, or is he constantly coming up with fresh new sayings?
He basically says nothing.
Yeah. No, like, I mean, I've never heard somebody say nothing, but it like sounds so deep.
He's just he's very serious. Like, I think him and AJ Brown are perfect. I remember AJ Brown put out like the greatest social media post after the Super Bowl, like something like, I didn't really enjoy it that much. It was the journey that was there, and I was like, God, that's what every coach wants to hear. Celebrating for 6 months, and I think Hurts and Brown are really similar in that sense. It's almost like we've won. All right, a couple of days celebrating. Now back to it.
It's too bad that Jalen Hurts isn't a defensive player, because he and Vic Fangio would be best friends. The story about like Fangio, after they went over logistics for the Super Bowl parade, made the defenders watch film, and he was mad they gave up that fourth quarter touchdown. Like, that's Jalen Hurts's. That's Jalen Hurts's music there.
A good comment from Adam saying he keeps the main thing the main thing. Yeah. He's my favorite psychopath as well. He is. He's really like playing like he's just never too high, never too down. If you're watching his press conference after the game, you probably couldn't tell if the Eagles won or lost.
Yeah,
like he's that kind of dude. It just feels like he takes everything in his stride. Just really quickly before we finish up, James, was there anything else that some of the things that I wanted to, and I haven't got clips to back this up, but things that I think we've covered already. I think decision making in the pocket, I think you covered quite well on numbers 3 and 4 anyway, but I think he is way more willing to stand in the pocket. And then I think he's so much more decisive pre-snap. I think his first few years, he was so one read. They didn't seem to look to me like there was a lot of pre-snap stuff. I felt like it was almost like post-snap and then see if the guy's open, if not, take off. Is there any other areas you wanted to hit with that film, or anything you think that you've significantly seen? Because you've obviously watched quite a bit of Hurts film of late. And also, I guess, from the Hurts film you've seen, I know Shane wants to ask you one thing as well, which came from Eagles Eric, which was a great question as well. But what do you think like the next evolution is, essentially, of Hurts? Like, where do you think the next areas he needs to work on? I mean, me and Shane have spoken about it at length because we do it every week. So I'm interested in someone who's not an Eagles guy. What do you think the next level is, if there is another level for Hurts to get to?
Well, to me, like, I still feel like the Eagles passing game is a little bit, like, I would say specialized compared to kind of, standard NFL passing offenses, like very sideline oriented, and it's not as much like them calling plays and him not being able to execute them. It's just like the stuff that they don't call, where like I feel like he's still, there's a multiple other levels that he could hit as like an intermediate middle of the field passer to me. To me, that's the big thing that sticks out. I think just like the timing and rhythm that he throws with is so much better. I think that the arm, when I look at it, like individual, skills and traits, a lot of it comes down to just how much better his arm is, and feel a lot more confident in him. I mean, I think being just like becoming a surgeon as like a, backside dig guy would probably be the biggest thing I would say.
Yeah, we speak about that all the time.
Backside timing routes.
The backside dig route. It's the killer. It's the real weakness in the arsenal. We've got to the point where we just hate them when they call it now, because I'm just like, you can't do it. Just stop doing it. But
I'm fine with backside digs. that's what Yako's question was about. My pet peeve that I would always yell about on past game reviews is when they would have like backside curl routes or backside comeback routes. It's just like, I mean, Justin Herbert will process to that. Jalen Hurts won't stop, do it. Like, just run something across the field into his field of vision.
Yes.
That was my biggest gripe with Kellen Moore all season, was the amount of backside timing routes or mirrored stick routes or whatever. That was the thing I yelled about all the time throughout the season. Can't stand that.
Yeah, he is significantly better when things are in his line of vision, isn't he? It's it's sort of crazy, really. But yeah, we've gone on backside timing routes so often. It's almost crazy.
Let me ask you this. So, like, obviously, Eagles fans on average are probably going to be higher on like all Eagles players than neutral observers. But how do you guys kind of balance in your mind the supporting cast and like obviously the fact that the Eagles have a great roster with trying to like rank and evaluate Jalen Hurts individually in a vacuum? Because for me, like, I will just admit that it's a really difficult thing to isolate when you've got somebody like, because the roster is objectively like insanely good.
Yeah.
But if Josh Allen was playing with that roster, that wouldn't make him a worse quarterback. So
no.
What do you all think about
that? You go first,
Johnny.
No, you go first. You go first.
It's so hard. Like, that's the thing. I do a quarterback rankings show every offseason, and it's so hard because quarterbacks are a byproduct of their system scheme, of their play caller, of everything that's around them. And there's no doubt that, like, well, at least from the personnel standpoint, what Hurts has been in is phenomenal. I mean, his entire career, barring 2020 with all the injuries, he's played with one of the best offensive lines in the league. And obviously early on, the receivers weren't great, but in the last couple of years, one of the best, if not the best, wide receiver duo in the NFL. And so he's been great. He's been surrounded by great talent. The play caller part of the ecosystem falls off some because he just doesn't have the same play caller ever back-to-back years. But it's so hard to separate quarterback from play caller from scheme and really decide where that credit belongs. So there's no doubt he's been in an advantageous system. And I really struggle every year when I start to look at that. To stack that up against other guys that I think are really talented that have not had that talent around him. It's the age-old question that I still don't have a good answer to.
He's not had consistency of OCs either. I don't think he's had particularly top OCs, and he's never had like the consistency of playing under someone like a Ben Johnson, say, if you're Jared Goff for like 2 straight seasons or something. So although the supporting cast is good, like, oh my God, that Brian Johnson offense against the Blitz was like, you're playing with one hand tied behind your back. It was absolutely.
Well, Jared Goff, I will say, Jared Goff, I think, is like exponentially more of a supporting cast merchant than Jalen Hurts. Like that.
Yeah, I will. If
I legitimately fear for the Lions now that they've lost Ben Johnson and they paid Jared Goff. But
I'll show a lovely.
I fear more about their center.
Yeah. Right now, it's a big loss.
Alex Katzen, he writes for Wide Left, your site. He wrote the other day a really, really good thing about Justin Herbert, and he basically said it's about why he's so controversial. And he said something about like it's our desire to make an imprecise sport precise. And I love that phrase because the reality is ranking's impossible, isn't it? We will never know.
Yeah.
I think Hurts still gets hit on by a lot of guys who didn't like him pre-draft because they want the position to be played a certain way, and the way Hurts wins is not the way that maybe they want they want their quarterback to win. And I think you have to admit that one of the reasons why Hurts is able to do that is because of the supporting cast he's got. But I don't know how you punish him for it. I'm like, what if it's single high? You're not going to throw it deep ball to AJ Brown? Like, it's like, what do you do? And for what it's worth, sometimes without AJ Brown, like it's not like Hurts has been utterly hopeless. But it would be interesting to see it at some point, like for like a stretch, just to see how things go. But it is really difficult. It is really difficult. Like especially last year, because the running game was so explosive and teams were all over the running game because it was just insanely good, wasn't it? Like, I mean, at times. So it's really tricky. I still maintain that I still have Hurts in that tier below your Josh Allen's, your Lamar's, and your Mahomes, probably in that second tier. But I also struggle, and this is going to sound like such an Eagles homer, I struggle when I see people having Dak Prescott significantly above Hurts because of the way he plays. And I think at some point you have to take into consideration the big games and the way Hurts plays in the big moments. Like, it's not just a regular season ranking. I'm trying to rank players that if I'm going into the playoffs, who do I want to be my QB? And I really do believe the way Hurts plays in terms of doesn't get too high, doesn't get too low. I think that's like a massive plus point for him. There's not many guys I'd want in a big Super Bowl or a playoff game because he's been there twice in the biggest of them all. He's absolutely excelled. And I sometimes think like we rank players in all these different metrics, and I don't want to be a big QB wins guy, but there is a certain part of it that is important. So yeah, it's really tough, isn't it? It's really tough because I also think the Eagles offense is stacked at AJ Brown and Devontae Smith, but sometimes it's not like there's a lot else at receiver. Sometimes he's been working with pretty average, like Rager and Watkins, who have had quite significant roles. So, I mean, look at Burrow and Chase Higgins and Boyd at points. Like, I feel like he didn't really get knocked as much as Hurts does, which maybe that's again number one overall pick. Everyone knows Joe Burrow is awesome. Yeah, it's a really tricky question. I think Eagles fans are always doubting themselves in that as well. But I think, I mean, even last year, Shane, there were times during the season, weren't there? There was definitely doubt about Jalen Hurts halfway through the season. I know it's social media, it's nonsense online and stuff, but there was absolutely people doubting him. And I found myself becoming like a Hurts defender.
Jalen Hurts until like this year.
Yeah, basically. I mean, I became like a Hurts defender, which always made me laugh because I just read out a quote from my 2022 article. I said, do any of you actually think he's ever going to compete with these guys? I was like, no. And then I became like the Hurts homer. And last year I was massively accused of being a Hurts homer. And I just kept trying to say that. Just don't know how you judge him in this offense of Brian Johnson because they just didn't have any answers for the blitz. It was like, I don't know how you really evaluate him. It's the age-old question, isn't it, of how you evaluate QBs.
I started putting my Hurts pass game reviews on Patreon because I got tired of being blasted on Twitter by people who claimed I was a Hurts hater while also being blasted by people that said I was a Hurts defender. So I was like, you know what? Let's take this off Twitter. But James, I am curious as a non-Eagles fan, and you don't have to give me an exact ranking, but kind of where would you rank Hurts among NFL quarterbacks going into 2025?
Hold on. Let me pull up a list. All right.
Oh, he's got a list.
Let me just tell you my quarterback rankings.
There we go.
Completely on the fly. So, Josh Allen 1, Lamar Jackson 2. I might say that's tier 1, honestly.
Really?
Okay.
Wow,
Yeah.
Interesting.
I haven't I watch all the good teams. I watch every game on all 22.
Yeah.
I haven't been impressed with Mahomes in 2.5 years.
He's not what he was. He's not the Tyreek Mahomes when he's.
I'm never like a quarterback hater guy. Like I don't want fans like in my mentions. So like it's not like a hot take. It's like I watch every game and he's pretty above average over the last 2 years. Obviously, like you don't just only look at the most recent games and what he did a couple years ago for that stretch, I think still holds some weight. But to me, he's really living off of like what he's accomplished in the past. And I mean, like part of it's like they run a gimmicky offense, so there's just not that as many opportunities for the big time throws that he had with Tyreek.
Quickly, when me and Shane did the All 22 rewatch prior to the Super Bowl, of the Chiefs versus Bills, we felt bad for Josh Allen because it was just brutal out there. Some of the stuff Mahomes did was utterly absurd, but it was so gimmicky. People talk about the Eagles offense being basic. I remember tweeting last year, James, as well, that I would put Lamar above him. So you're not alone. I remember watching Lamar like midway through last year, and I was like, what the hell is this guy doing? This guy's playing at a total lower level. And I think Josh Allen is absolutely in that category as well. I would put Lamar in tier 1.
To me, with Lamar, it's like the intermediate passing. And people who don't watch him like have this like really stereotypical view of his play style. But like to me, the clear defined strength of him is being able to throw over the middle from the pocket. Like I think over the last 2 years, like that's where his game just really elevated. So yeah, I'm a massive Lamar fan. Okay, so that would be my top 2. I would put Patrick Mahomes at 3 to start off tier 2. And then I would probably put Joe Burrow at 4, and that would round out my second tier.
Yeah.
Then tier 3. So like most people would have that top 4 kind of grouped as tier 1, but so tier 3, that's where Hurts would be for me. This is where you get into a bunch of players that are just really hard to stack because so for me, I would be deciding between Hurts, Justin Herbert, who I still really like Justin Herbert. I think he gets too much. Scrolling down this list here. So yeah, I mean, Hurts, Herbert, that might be tier 3 by itself. And put a seat warmer there for Jaden Daniels if he can based on what he does this year. Like Matthew Stafford at his best is kind of in that tier probably.
What about Dak?
I think
where are you on Dak, James? Just not to give me a ranking, but
I think so. I think probably like I would probably have Herbert 5 and then Hurts 6,
and then Dak tier below. Just as an Eagles podcast, got to ask.
I'm sorry, what'd you say?
Dak Prescott. Where would you have him? Like not number wise, just like tier below.
Oh yeah, Prescott would definitely be in the next tier after that. He's like, you made a great point. He is he's like a fun to watch guy.
Yeah.
Like not a guy that I want in big moments necessarily, but man, if I sit there and just like watch a cut up of him ripping seams, I love it. I love watching him play, but way too inconsistent. I mean, like Hurts, I said this at the beginning. I'm not a guy that like if you win a Super Bowl that would affect my rankings at all. But performing well in big moments is critical. Like that's a critical part of I care how you performed in the Super Bowl. I don't really care if you won. So yeah, I mean, like Jalen Hurts has those 2 Super Bowl performances on his resume that probably the 2 best that I've ever seen. So I mean, I think that matters. And like we've discussed this whole video, like just the improvement in every single area is impossible to ignore.
Yeah. Awesome. That's quite similar. I think we're both probably similar, Shane, aren't we? I've always had him outside that top tier in that 5 to 8 category. There's a few guys you can rank around him, but that's cool. It's nice to hear. Well, not nice to hear. It's not like I work for the Eagles, but it's cool to hear someone who watches a lot more quarterbacks and I get the chance to sort of see how they would rank him. Yeah, wicked.
All right. Well, that's awesome. I guess I do have to print or a retraction here. Adam says that Vic Fangio said that story about watching film was fake news. So
yeah, he did.
I don't follow a ton of the press conferences, so I guess I'll stop telling that story. I wish it were true though, because I liked that one. But so yeah, I guess that's gonna about wrap it up. James, thanks for joining us and pulling some of those old clips for us that we can't really get a hold of anymore. But before we get out of here, go ahead and plug your YouTube. Tell people what you've got coming out, and hopefully we can funnel some people to go find your work because it's awesome.
Yeah, just started a new YouTube channel, so have a bunch of draft stuff on there, and editing a bunch of videos today. So we'll be covering the 2024 rookies a lot. So check me out there. I write for Wide Left, and you can follow me on Twitter at NoFlagsFilm.
All right. And the YouTube is at James_Foster_film. So be sure you check out James' stuff. James, thanks for coming on the show. Jonny, any final thoughts from you before we get out of here?
No, I was going to say, we know James is a fan because I know Eagles Eric shared some Wide Left subscriptions in the Patreon Discord. So Wide Left's awesome. I hope it does really well because I know it's rebooted. And I said this before and I mean it, James, the stuff you do is unbelievably good. So thank you so much for taking the time, not just because you have access to the film, but because you know what you're doing when you're watching it as well, which, that was awesome. That was really good.
All right.
Yeah, I really enjoyed Blast from the Past and kind of just tracking his development. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, it makes me want to go back and rewatch some of the old games and just do like the all 22 videos on them. Because I didn't start doing the weekly all 22 videos, I don't think, until 2022. I'd have to go back and check, but that would be interesting to go back through. So maybe that's a project for later in the off season. If it is, I can promise you it'll be on our Patreon. I will not put that on Twitter. So come check out our Patreon at patreon.com/ontheshane page. We're going to have some more all 22 watch alongs and mailbag coming out in the next couple of weeks. So come and check that out. Make sure you're following us all on Twitter. I'm at Shane Half NFL. Jonny is at Jonny Page, and James is Jonny is at Jonny Page 9. James is at No Flags Film, and we will catch you guys next time.